Hey, it's really hot today, and I think I got sunburn. I know it may not show on the screen, but I think, yeah. What's up? And today I'm gonna do a review and a full-length album review on Janelle Monáe's new studio album, Dirty Computer. So, Janelle Monáe, singer, songwriter, rapper, model, actress. She's in Moonlight, by the way, which is my favorite movie of 2016. Anyway, when it comes to the topics being discussed on this album, it's a little bit different than the topics Janelle Monáe discussed on her previous studio albums. For this album, she talks about political and social issues more. She talks about America in general. She talks about woman power, sex, and also her own personal stories as well. And music-wise, this album is also way more flavorful and interesting than a lot of her past work. You know, of course, you have elements of contemporary R&B, funk, soul, straight-up pop, but there are also a lot of crispy synths that takes the lead in a bulk of the album as well. There are flaws in this album, however. I feel like a lot of the vocal work feels a little awkward. The instrumentals also feel a little awkward and cheap sometimes. And this album is a very glitzy, glossy album. That's why it doesn't sound as organic. And in terms of the lyrics, it's a little bit more hedonistic and a little bit more shallow, but it still doesn't take away the fact that this is a pretty damn smart pop album. Anyway, the album started off with the intro track, which is a pretty awkward and cold intro, and I don't really care for the intro at all. I mean, it's just the intro. It's just 2 minutes long, and it kind of brings you into the album. Anyway, the first actual track is Crazy Classic Life, which has some super fun and catchy and entertaining verses. However, the choruses are a little bit more underwhelming, and overall the track, lyrically speaking, it's a little underwritten, it's a little shallow. The next track is Take a Bite, and this is where the album gets juicy and sweet. And, Take a Bite is a very fun, disorienting, glossy, sweet, sensual pop track with some shimmering guitars and lustful vocals.
Just take a bite, help yourself.
And I actually really like it. I like how the pop elements of the track and the funk elements of the track mix together. And then there's the track titled Screwed, featuring Zoe Kravitz. And it is an even more poppier, groovier, and also more tasteful pop rock track. However, lyrically it is more ominous, is a little bit more strange, which is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, I think the strange and uncertain lyrics of this track makes this track stand out even more, and I really love this track. This track is one of my favorite tracks on the album, to be honest. I love the summery, flaming guitars, the bubbly and foreboding instrumentals, and Zoe Kravitz's feature on this track is very sweet as well, and overall, I just love it. I love the bridge, I love the chorus, it's super catchy, super sing-alongable, and overall, I'm really enjoying this track. Wow.
Body, we're gonna crash your party. Let's get screwed. I don't care. You fuck the world up now. We'll fuck it all back. Let's get screwed.
This track deals with the world being fucked, both in a good way and in a bad way. And then it smoothly transitions into Django Jane, which is a really moody rap song track. Rap song, rap singing, rap song. Yeah, whatever. Although this track is not as fun and as entertaining as other tracks on the album. Lyrically, it's wow. It's a wow for me. This track mainly deals with female empowerment. And there's one line that Janelle Monáe said that really, wow. Having start a pussy riot, she gonna put them in a pussy diet.
And we gon' start a motherfucking pussy riot, or we gon' have to put them on a pussy diet. Look at that, I guarantee I got them quiet. Look at that, I guarantee they all inspired.
And then the next track, it's a very cutesy but also somewhat awkward track, and that is Pynk featuring Grimes. And this is an extremely bubbly and bright and vivid track that you would probably not expect from Janelle Monáe, but it's more Grimes than Janelle Monáe on this track.
Pink like the inside of your baby.
And the vocals are very cheeky and soft. Lyrics are more gross and graphic, but there's a humor side to the lyrics as well. But still, it's very gross and graphic. What in the world? Anyway, the next track. Oh yeah, by the way, Pynk is still a very catchy and a very fun track as well. I like that track. Don't get mad at me. I actually like it. Make Me Feel is the next track, and damn, that's probably my favorite track on the album.
It's like I'm powerful with a little bit of tender and emotional, sexual bender. Mess me up, yeah, but no one does it better. There's nothing better. That's just the way you make me feel.
Not only does this track gives a lot of nods to Prince, which is really amazing and excellently done, and this track itself it's such a jam. It's such a hot, sensual jam. Although I didn't like it that much when I first heard it, it grew on me a lot more every time I listened to it. Again, I just told you this, but this track is super sensual, super hot, lustful, sexy, and I really love the stargazing 80s throwback bridge. Wow, I just rolled my tongue accidentally. Throwback bridge. That's really catchy. And then the next track is I Got the Juice featuring Pharrell Williams. Pharrell Williams is here again. It is an okay track. It's nothing that groundbreaking or mind-blowing or anything like that, but it's actually decent, I guess. Pharrell's verses on this track is actually really funny and kind of smart, but also kind of gross. There's this line where he said, this juice is yellow like there's pee in it, Yellow is Pharrell Williams' color, and P stands for Pharrell. So, yep. And then there's the track titled I Like That. And this track, it's not that good. And mainly on this track, Janelle Monáe talks about her past, her personal stories, over a generic dime a dozen trap beat, and overall this track just feels kind of drab, kind of dry. It's not that bad. Her vocal chops on this track is still as bright and as moving as other tracks on the record, but still pretty much all the other tracks on the album overshadowed this one because this track is just not as flavorful and as tasteful as other tracks. Anyway, the next track, Don't Judge Me, is a very unexpectedly slow and psychedelic, dreamy ballad with some flavorful guitars and steady bass and drum line. And this track is good. I like it. And then there's also So Afraid, which has a early 2000s indie grunge rock sound at first for some reason. I kind of like the crunchy, low-key guitars at the first.
I'm a gift and a curse to the wilderness when the leaves only turn to brown.
And Janelle Monáe has some angsty vocals at the first of the track, which sounds really weird. It reminds me of Nirvana, like one of those softer Nirvana songs. It's kind of weird. But later on in the track, you get some more soulful instrumentals that really justifies the sound of the track. And the album ends with Americans, which is a dancey, fancy goodbye track, in my opinion, with a very hype synth, and the vibe is very festive as well. And overall, this track is about, fighting for a better country. Even though the USA is not in the best position right now, you still have to fight for a better country. Maybe it gets a little too political on this track, but it still doesn't mean that this track is not bad at all. So yeah, there are also a couple of interludes that feels really random and out of place in this album. Not that they're bad interludes, but they don't really bring much in terms of concept and context. But still, overall, the album is pretty good. In fact, I think it's pretty great. The production is excellent. It's quality. There are a lot of songs on this album that are fun and catchy and both sexy and political at the same time, which is kind of special for pop stars nowadays. And if there's one big flaw on the album, that is probably the lyrics. The second biggest flaw would be the awkward instrumentals. I thought, it can be a little bit more seasoned, if you know what I mean. But overall, it's a very, very smart pop album, and they made they made a music video for the entirety of the album. Yeah, just like what Kanye did to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and what Death Grips did to Government Plates. And although it's not like a amazing music video or anything, it's a pretty nice music video nonetheless. So I'll give it that. The worst track is I Like That, and my favorite track on the album, it's either Screwed or Make Me Feel. I'm gonna have to go with Make Me Feel, the biggest single. I am giving this album a 7 to an 8 out of 10. So, have you listened to Janelle Monáe's Dirty Computer? Like if you like it, and subscribe if you want more.